Hey guys, in today's video I'm just going to talk real briefly on Chinese food just because it's what I had for dinner tonight, and I always think that Chinese food is kind of an interesting example of how America has taken something from our culture and really just completely manipulated it to be a very, very American thing. And I think Chinese food is one of the best examples of that, in the sense of the Chinese food that we eat in America is absolutely nothing like authentic Chinese food that you would get in China or in a place like even like Chinatown in New York has some shops that are a little more authentic where you can get more realistic Chinese food, but in reality things like the beef lo mein and all that is nowhere even somewhat similar to what actual Chinese food is like. So I think it's just really interesting how America has taken something like Chinese food and just made it a completely American thing. If you were to you can walk into, first of all, any Chinese restaurant, they all have the same exact recipe, basically making the same exact foods. You can know your order before you walk in because they've perfected what it is that Americans are looking for. And it's a similar thing that you see in stuff like a McDonald's and those franchise chain types, even though none of the Chinese restaurants are actually connected to each other for the most part, except for maybe a Panda Express or whatever. All the rest of them are completely disconnected but have such a similar taste and vibe and style that it has that McDonaldization factor that you see in something like McDonald's, where you can go to any given restaurant and know what your order is before you walk in, expect a very, very similar product for a very, very similar price. So I think it's a very interesting thing overall. Another big example of this would be Mexican food is a big one, where most Mexican restaurants, there's a couple for sure that are a little more authentic, but most of them, the chimichangas and things like that, are such an American style chimichanga where the meats are flavored in a very different way. The spices are toned down in most ethnic foods that come in an American style, just because most American people don't like the heavy spices that are in a lot of foods. So yeah, just there's a lot of examples of this, I think, in American culture of seeing us somewhat appropriating, maybe that's a harsh word to describe it, but taking the food of another nation and manipulating it in a way that best suits the American desires and makes it fit our needs. So yeah, overall, I think that Chinese food is so loved by Americans because, one, it has that factor where you can kind of go anywhere and get the same thing, but also the fact that you have turned it into something that's very high sodium, high flavor, high sauce, high sweet, a lot of very sweet taste in most American Chinese food, as opposed to most cultures, especially in an Asian culture, has a lot more spiciness to it. Whereas the Chinese food, the lo mein and the what do they call, the boneless spare ribs, all that have a very sweet sauce on it, which is something made specifically for Americans. So yeah, that's it on my little talk about Chinese food. I'm going to wrap the video up here. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in tomorrow's episode.